Welcome to the Church Resource, where we talk about the best resources for pastors, leaders, and lay people. I'm your host, Jeff Oliver, giving you a book today that I discovered, because it was on my required reading list in a seminary class. So that's how I came across it, but I am so glad I did, and it has been helpful to me in being able to understand some of the struggle that this person went through. The book is called Come Back, Barbra. It's written by John Miller. And this is a little bit of a spoiler right here on the front cover, but it's written by John Miller and Barbra Miller Giuliani. Of course, the book is called Come Back, Barbra, so we probably can figure out right from the outset that Barbra came back. But this is the story of how that happened. And I recommend this to you. The way, again, that I found it was on my syllabus. I had to get it. And it was in a class that was about the counseling of parents and children. So I think inevitably you're going to know someone. If it doesn't happen to you personally or in your family, then it's going to happen to somebody within your church, in your circle of friends, where a child, maybe that's in this case, in Barbra's case, that she was 18, that a child will just leave. And they don't want to have anything to do with your faith, your religion, your rules, and all those things. Maybe their faith, again, in Barbra's case, her faith was not real to her. It did not become her own faith. It was something that she was following from her parents. Now, the main author, John Miller, taught practical theology at Westminster Theological Seminary. He was a director of World Harvest Mission. He led mission trips all the time, and he was, of course, being a good, dutiful father and with his wife, raising Barbra to be very much like that, and took her all over the world with him in mission trips and just raising her in the faith. And there's a story at the beginning of this book that talks about how Barbra they were on the mission field somewhere and in front of a mission sending agency that they were working with, and she just had a blow up. She says, "I don't want to follow your rules anymore," basically, and how they dealt with that, and then how they dealt with her for just trial after trial in her life that came, and how they tried to counsel her. These people, John Miller and his wife, were very gracious in doing this. They never rejected their daughter. They always tried to bring her back and to help her to see the beauty of a relationship with God. Helped her to see that there were ways that we ought to conduct our lives that are prescribed by the Bible, that are given to us lovingly through God's Word. And I don't think they ever, in my reading of this book, they never browbeat her into trying to make her believe anything that she didn't already believe, but just being winsome about it, showing that there was an attractive way that God was drawing her, and that they were doing that. I think they were doing a great job of mimicking that, of demonstrating that for her in their life and their relationship with their daughter. But it took a long time, and I think that is helpful for us to see that if you have somebody in your ministry, maybe you're a pastor, a teacher, some leader in your church, or if this is, again, happening right in your family, I would highly recommend this book, that you take a look here and see that, it doesn't happen overnight. And there are things that we can do. There are ways. It even talks about just seasons of prayer, how much they dwelt on prayer, how crucial that was to their getting their daughter back into their life. And so I think this is an excellent resource for you to take a look. And it reads, it's just a story, and how this happened in their life, how Barbra had that blow up one day, and how she went through the rest of her life just kind of ignoring God's laws, and life becoming unraveled for her. And there were trials at every turn, and how her parents tried to bring her back with the love of Christ. I love about this book that it has at the end of, it's not the end, but within each chapter, there is an opportunity for John Miller to give his side of the story. And then, almost like you were watching a TV drama, then you would see his side of the story, and then the very same episode, the same scene going on, but from her perspective. And so Barbra writes in a kind of an opposition or maybe a response rather to whatever John had written in the book to tell about a certain, an incident that goes on in their life. And then Barbra writes, well, here's what was really happening. Here's what was my thought pattern. And here's what was going on behind the scenes, so that informed and made her, we'll say, act the way that she did in that situation. So I think that's the strength of this book, that it's written from both perspectives, that there's John, and I'm sure with input from his wife, and then from Barbra Miller Giuliani, who has written this book. They've written it together. I'll tell you also, this book has a study guide, which I think is so handy. I mean, if you're going to use this in a counseling situation, if you're going to use this to be able to truly help somebody in dealing with this kind of prodigal situation, I think this is just excellent. I think this is genius for you to have this feature in the back of the book. There's a study guide, chapter by chapter, and it gives some great in-depth, deep questions that you're able to answer, hopefully from your reading of the chapter of John's portion and of Barbra's portion of each chapter of the book. And so I just think this is very helpful for people who are dealing with it. The book is called Come Back, Barbra. It says it's an inspiring account of a prodigal daughter's return to faith and her reconciliation with her father. This is written by John Miller and Barbra Miller Giuliani, and highly recommend this. It's one book that's been on my shelf, and it's been helpful to me throughout my ministry. Well, and I hope it gives you a bit of direction as you prayerfully consider which resources will best help you and the people you minister to. Thanks for listening to the Church Resource. Please make sure you give us a review. And if you have any suggestions of resources you would like us to look at, email us at thechurchresource@gmail.com. That's thechurchresource@gmail.com.